Welcome viewers and listeners to another Suidlanders Gesels program with myself, Marius Greyling, and obviously Simon Roche. Gesels is a chat in English. Well, Gesels is Afrikaans, our native tongue here in Uppington and in South African for our Afrikaner boere. So I just wanted to say that if you read the heading or that's saying Suidlanders Gesels and you're not sure what the Gesels means, it's just meaning chat. The Suidlanders chat program between me and Simon Roche. Welcome, Simon, this afternoon once again, and I hope we're going to have a good one.
Yeah, I hope so too, Marius. I bought a little microphone to improve my performance. Your colleague Arnold is he wants the best quality, and rightly so. Whereas I'm a bit of a troglodyte, a cave dweller, or a Luddite is another word in English. They were a group of people who, when the first kind of machinery appeared in England, machinery as opposed to manual looms and weavers' looms and what have you. When those things appeared, they ran around breaking them all. It was sort of an uprising in England. They were called the Luddites, so it refers to primitive people. I struggle with technology, but I bought a blimming microphone with Arnold in mind, and it turns out that if you put it into the phone, it's a wireless thing. So you put one end into the phone, and then you clip the actual mic unit onto your lapel or whatever. It makes the speaker not work, so I couldn't hear you. So now I have to go and get another one that is a microphone and headset unit. But slowly but slowly we're getting into maybe not the 21st century, but I think the 20th.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, some of these newly technologies that the young ones just jump on the internet and does all kinds of shows or streaming services is still a bit Greek to me. But we're learning and we're growing. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing nicely. Marius, there's a lot to talk about. I'll begin by saying that I am due to fly to Russia at the invitation of a number of invitations, I should emphasize, from senior people in Russia. The one guy is a very, very, very senior guy, and he personally contacted me. I'm not sure that he would want his name mentioned. So I'll avoid saying who he is, but he's part of the government and he's in a very senior role. And I've had invitations from others. So finally, after securing the finance from one of our, high profile members, I'm not sure that he wants his name mentioned. And finally getting my passport, which was meant to take between 2 and 3 weeks, took 6 weeks exactly to get. And then coming up here and making final arrangements. I'm flying tonight. I'll land tomorrow at Domodedovo Airport, which some people may recognize as one of the very prominent Moscow airports of the Cold War years, along with Sheremetyevo. So I'll land at Domodedovo, and I'll be staying with some hosts for a few days, not for long. They said they could put me up for about a week or so, and then we'll, figure out all of the different things, where to stay, where's it cheapest, where's it best, where shall we visit, what shall we look at, who shall we meet, and what else can I tell you? So I'll be staying at that guy's place, and I'll figure out my own accommodation. Oh, yes. I'll probably do an interview with one of these people in the next couple of days, and I will on the 9th anyway. It was Monday the 5th, Tuesday the 6th, Wednesday the 7th, Thursday the 8th, Friday the 9th. On Friday, I will observe the Victory Day parade. I'm not going to be in the main, security clearance crowds or anything like that. But from what I understand, I'll have a very privileged vantage point. I'll be at somebody's residence, and they must be extremely well connected to have a flat overlooking Red Square. How good the view is, I don't know, but apparently it's quite spectacular. So I'll do some recordings there. I hope that everything will work well, and I can make some videos for you with the parade in the background. Yeah. And from there, we'll take it step by step. I don't think that we will struggle to find things to do and people to talk to. I think on the contrary, it'll be very easy. Not that everybody in Russia speaks English, but I think that we'll keep ourselves busy. And there are a couple of quite spectacular places that I'd like to go to. Certainly spectacular in the imagination of somebody who grew up during the Cold War. There are places to go and things to see that I think our viewers might find quite marvelous. And in all of that process, of course, the chief purpose of my visit is not a jolly patrolly. Excuse me for the noise in the background. Is not a jolly patrolly, but it's to spread the word of our Lord Jesus Christ, of the salvation of the Lamb of God. As Suidlanders, as people who believe that in these latter days, the greatest imperative is to talk about the prophetic and faith aspect of who and what we are. So I hope that that's a good summary of the Russia thing, and we can move on to other things, Marius.
Yeah,
unless you've got questions, I'll be happy to answer.
No, I don't have questions at this stage. I'm just very excited. I think it's a fantastic thing. You explained the reason why you're going very clearly. So, all the viewers keep on watching the channel to see Simon doing videos and interviews from Russia, and we just want to hope you're well on your travels, and we'll keep you on our prayers, obviously.
Yeah, the prayer is very important, Marius. It really, really is. I don't want to get into a long story about why I think it's so important and what I've witnessed when on these tours doing this work. Let it suffice to say that for me, it's an experience thing. Yeah. It makes all the difference in the world. I've witnessed it. And there are no two ways about it. It is ever so important. I asked Mr. Miller to ask his wife, who's a very devout lady, to say prayers. This morning I spoke with Ursula in Van der Kloof, who's also a devout lady, and I asked her for prayer. If I'd spoken to the number of other ladies in Van der Kloof and elsewhere, of whom I have a very high opinion, I would have asked them only for that thing also. Yeah. So thank you for mentioning that, Marius.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Simon. Okay, what do you have for us this week? What's been happening in the world? I mean, it seems that I spoke to my one friend this morning, actually, and I told them, listen here, there's so much happening in 1 week now. It's equal to about 3 years worth of happenings if you go 10 years back. And this is only happening in 1 week span. So never a dull moment in the time we're living in.
Yeah, Marius, and many of the things that are happening are of the greatest import. For instance, Yemen struck the Houthis. So for those people who don't know, Yemen is a country on the Arabian Peninsula. It is traditionally one of the poorest countries in the world, but historically, frankincense and myrrh and other things mentioned in the Bible to do with the Lamb of God came from there. Not and other things, those two things. The people are very primitive, clearly not so primitive. We're going to talk about their ballistic missiles in a short while. But it's not one of the most prominent countries of recent centuries. And a clan called the Houthis, actually two brothers, founded a movement called Ansar Allah, some years ago. and they've been at war with the nominal government in the capital of Sana'a for years now. The nominal government, I say nominal government because they only control a very small portion of Yemen. The rest is controlled by this organization called Ansarullah that usually goes by its nickname Houthi for the brothers and this clan name Houthi. It's just a nickname. Ansarullah is the correct name. They've also been at war with Saudi Arabia. They are not a proxy of Iran. They just simply aren't. And there's a very good explanation of why they aren't. However, they have been supported by Iran in the past, and there is some sort of association, but they're not really at all a proxy of Iran. They do their own thing altogether. And they've been firing missiles, highly sophisticated missiles, into Israel quite successfully in recent days, and Israel has retaliated, and it looks like the ructions in that region are only going to become more severe. The United States has been bombing these Houthis. However, most of their strong points are in mountains and their missile launch sites. And a journalist by the name of Pepe Escobar did an interview recently, a very highly regarded journalist, in which he described how, without giving any secrets away, he said, look, I met this guy and I met that guy and blah, 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 blah. He said, the reality is this. The USA has had no success against the Houthis. It might be small fractions of a percentage, but they are bombing mountains to fragments. But these guys have these tunnels many kilometers long in mountain ranges that are covered with foliage, with, what would you call it, flora, if you like, trees and bushes and brush and so on, forests if you prefer. He said they don't know where these guys are, the USA, that is to say, they're just taking pot shots. So it looks as if, and the Houthis, by the way, are not acting on behalf of Iran. The Houthis' their thing is Gaza, Palestine. Somebody needs to stand up for these people who are being destroyed, the children being burned alive and what have you, hospitals bombed, oldest continuous church in continuous existence, Christian church, destroyed, another famous Christian church deliberately targeted by the Israelis, destroyed. There's a lot of rough stuff going on in Gaza. I know that some people are very sympathetic to the Israelis in that regard. Fine. I'll try to tread a fine line here, not tread on anybody's toes. Whether you're pro or anti, the reality is that the Houthis are doing their own thing, not at Iran's instigation, in spite of what the popular media would have you believe, in defense of or in support of Gaza. And as with some months ago when something like 109 missiles fired by the Yemenis struck Israel in one night or various places, particularly Ben Gurion Airport, they had successes over the weekend. Now, Ben Gurion Airport is Israel's main airport by a country mile, with the result that commercial flights are not taking place. Many airlines have withdrawn their service, and even El Al, which is the Israeli national airline, has had to reduce its flights because it's simply not safe. On a similar note, the Houthis have had terrific success with their missiles against U.S. naval assets in that region. The USA has had to completely withdraw its naval presence from the Red Sea altogether. They're now sailing or steaming very far from the immediate locale. And that's an interesting thing, because For decades now, we've witnessed US naval power and air naval power dominate all over the world in whatever conflicts. In Vietnam, for those who were old enough to read the local newspaper, I used to read my dad's Natal Mercury in the mid-70s. For those who remember Operation Desert Storm in the 90s, 1991. For those who remember the second Iraq invasion in 2003, and Afghanistan, and Somalia, and so on and so forth. The US has been able to send out one of its 11 aircraft carriers to any place in the world and utterly dominate it with F-16s, F-14 Grumman Tomcats, F-15s, F-14s, 15s, 16s, FA-18s, and so on. Now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, we have a scenario where, as I say, out of the blue, you can't emphasize it enough. It's just practically overnight. The U.S. naval power and naval air power has been reduced, not to nothing, but reduced very, very, very much, because they've been firing upon these vessels. And as with the Israeli systems, that is to say air defense systems, David Sling, the Arrow, there are another two, there's the Iron Dome, and I can't think of the fourth one, which are supposedly the big, and of course the Israelis have the original American one, the Patriot. None of those have been successful, not properly successful. I've seen some very, very interesting figures by leading observers on Twitter X, Armchair Warlord and War Monitor and so on and so forth, that suggest that the rate of success of Israeli air defense systems against these missiles fired by the Ansar Allah from northern Yemen right across the Arabian Peninsula. And it's worth having a look, if anybody's interested, going onto Google Earth and just having a look for themselves what success these guys have achieved. That is to say, this unknown party, not even in the North Korea League, has been firing all of these missiles quite some distance from their stronghold in Yemen, or strongholds, over into Israel and into the Red Sea, so much so that they've shut down the activities at Ben Gurion Airport, or much of the activities, and they've been able to chase the USA with its tail between its legs right out of the Red Sea region and back down into the lower down into the Indian Ocean. It's a very, very big thing. Now, related to that, it's not one and the same thing, but your viewers might feel like they'll profit by this knowledge. I don't know. As most people know by now, in December, Joe Biden signed off on a defense budget of $895 billion in anticipation of Donald Trump. And it was regarded by observers as a tremendous favor. And people said, well, you see, this is the deep state. They pretend to hate one another, but when it really, really, really counts, never mind all the petty, spiteful stuff, when it really counts, they're buddies. And if you take 895 billion and then you add to it, you can only speculate. Nobody knows the exact numbers, but it is well known that very many U.S. military activities are funded through, I want to call them the black accounts, let's call them, of the Department of the Interior and the Department of Education and the Department of Housing, literally, quite literally. It may be that the US military budget is solidly more than $1 trillion. And Donald Trump attempted to get Congress to give him a license, a special kind of a stamp, if you like, to have no spending cap on the military budget. So there's a certain budget signed off. Here's $895 billion for you. He then says, right, I need Congress's help here. I want to be able to dip my hand into the till whenever I like, regardless of this amount, $895 billion plus the black accounts that you, Marius, and I might speculate on. If we do some research, I might say another 50 billion. You say 75. Old Arnold says 122. Besides that, Donald Trump is saying, I want a law that allows me to spend whatever I like on the military whenever I like. That should ring alarm bells. Then, after he was turned down, he's now come back in the past 10 days or so to say, well, if I can't have free reign, if I can't have carte blanche, if I can't put my hands in the cookie jar whenever I like, a bottomless cookie jar, then will you at least give me $1.4 trillion for the forthcoming period? Oh. It's getting mental, Marius.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make is that clearly the USA believes that big stuff is coming. If you gave me a budget for some purpose, Marius, and I said to you, hey, you mind if I spend an extra $10 or $100 or $1,000? It might be normal and reasonable under the circumstances. But when you say to somebody that $895 billion is not enough, I need another $500 billion plus the black accounts. Clearly, you are hell-bent on big things, much bigger things than Ukraine. And I think today is a good day for our Suidlanders to take cognizance of the fact that although the Americans are saying one thing, that is to say talking peace, 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 they're doing another thing altogether. They're preparing for the war to end all wars, saying we need 1.4 trillion. We need another $500 billion. It's, as I've already said, mental. Clearly, they are hell-bent on big things. I think that includes, it's my opinion, that they're going to reveal their true colors with a very black operation in Ukraine in the coming months. I think that it includes dramas in China, and I think it includes dramas in the Middle East, Yemen, Israel, etc., and I'd go so far as to say Iran. And that's really the biggest stuff of the week, because most people are being, I think, I would contend, misled, led by the nose by the mainstream and the conservative media at the moment. What you have is a mainstream media that is parroting what they've always parroted. Let me just say one thing which might give people a sense of perspective here. Donald Trump insists that the war in Ukraine is not his war. But calculations have recently been done, good research by the best guys. And it turns out that in Donald Trump's first term of 4 years, he devoted more men and material to Ukraine than Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So, in fact, this is more his war than anybody else's, because it was against those preparations that the Russians moved. It was against this kind of de facto NATO expansion. It was against the military buildup. It was against the fact, and it is a fact, that NATO was training 10,000 troops a year, Ukrainian troops, for conflict. And if that's not enough to incite an opponent to act, well, then I don't know what is. For over 10 years, 100,000 troops. The Russians must have been fuming all of that time. So to go back to the point that I was trying to make, we now have a scenario where a putatively, a supposedly, an ostensibly conservative president is saying peace, peace, peace. And he's picked up the support not just of the mainstream media, who were unwilling to expose what was happening in Ukraine. You know, the Washington Post never came out and said disaster and disgrace in Ukraine. There's been one narrative. We all know what it is. Now you have the conservative media supporting that narrative. Our president, Donald Trump, our hero, says he wants peace, and golly gee, his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, Marco Rubio, he's saying the same thing. And wouldn't you just believe it, General Keith Kellogg is also talking peace, peace, peace. And then we've got the special envoy, Donald Trump's real estate buddy, Witkoff, saying the same thing. And we've got the national security, I think I'm going to mess up his title, but this Mike Waltz guy saying the same thing. Golly gee, isn't it just too wonderful? I get all warm and tingly as a conservative when I see my man just doing so much for love and peace and harmony in the world. And I'm sorry to be that guy, but somebody needs to say, we are being hoodwinked. The simple reality is that if you're so versot, versot means besotted, by peace, you don't get that 895 billion, by the way, is an increase of $100 billion. So it was about 800 billion. It's now roughly 900 billion, excluding the black accounts. So it went up by 1/8. So that's 12%. From 800 to 900. An eighth. Now he's saying he wants another 500.
Sure.
This is mind-bogglingly belying what the conservative media and the mainstream media are telling us. This belies it. You don't go from 800 billion to 1.4 trillion, which is what he wants. And what he wanted before was carte blanche. He wanted no cap on military expenditure. For him, with obviously the Department of the Treasury and the 12 Federal Reserve banks, to be able to pretend, because they don't print the money, to pretend to print any amount of money at his discretion. For what purpose? For peace in Ukraine? Is there something wrong with these people that believe this? We're all old enough now. We have our heroes. Sometimes they disappoint us. I had high dramas with one of my sons over the past few days, as you know. And I said to him, look, the facts are the facts. Don't get defensive. Let's just stick to the facts. And then it's much easier to reconcile and to make amends and to do good things. But let's please not look one another in the eyes and tell fantastical lies, which to his credit, he wasn't doing. I was just setting the table for the matter to be handled well. He took very good responsibility for himself. But my point is, that sooner or later, you have to be old enough and wise enough and mature enough not to be hoodwinked by your heroes. He is I can't think of anybody that I know of who has Donald Trump's charisma. He tickles us all pink. We all have some level of affection for him. But to look me in the eyes and say, peace, 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 while going from $800 billion budget, defense budget per year, to an uncapped budget, or 1.4 trillion, or even a 900, as he has now, billion budget, excluding all of the black accounts, all of the money that comes through Department of Education and Department of Housing. Please don't take me for somebody who's quite so stupid. Clearly, you are hell-bent on war, as you were when you tossed tons of munitions and men into Ukraine in the years 2017, 18, 19, and 20, when you were in power previously. And by the way, Marius, not to become a Russophile, I'm not as cheap as that. But if I'm not to be one-eyed, if I'm to be even-handed and fair-minded, then I think I can say this without anybody suspecting that, maybe he's going to go over to the other side. Submit an application form at the FSB. But the simple reality is that the Russians know everything that I'm telling you. They're conducting these negotiations in a very genteel and diplomatic manner, using the highest standards of professionalism. But if you follow their channels, as I've been endeavoring to do, notwithstanding that I don't speak Russian and I don't read Cyrillic, their alphabet, you rapidly learn that they're not mentally retarded. They are being taken for fools as we in the West are being taken for fools over all of these events. But it's not that they're really fools. They're just pretending to be idiots. They know very, very, very well that they are being bull-dusted, if I may use that word.
Yeah.
And there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of evidence for it. What I've said today, I know is not everybody's cup of tea, but it is overwhelmingly supported by the hard evidence. So hopefully, in spite of the fact that what I've said is not preferential to conservatives, it may be beneficial to them in the days, weeks, and months that lie ahead. And that's about my story for today, Marius.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. While you were talking, I was just thinking that the manipulation is so easy if you take away all the things that the right-wing people like across the world, and then all of a sudden you get another person in, but that person gives you 40 or 50% of what you do like. Then it's so easy just to go, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing that, and we are happy. We are just content. At least we're getting something, and that's why you have to look with clarity to all the leaders, even the right-wing ones that we do like. We like it when Donald Trump gives the left a bit of a backhand or a clap or a this or a that. We like it when Putin does certain things, but when they do other things that is not on board with what they are saying, for instance, then you have to call it out. So we've had a couple of comments on the last video, the people that's very pro-Trump that said this or that or whatever, and that's why I always tell the viewers, listen, we try objectively to take everybody. If they do good, great. We'll throw them a thumbs up and say, fantastic work there. We like the way you think there. But then when it's like this defense budget now that you said, but he's saying peace, 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 the two doesn't equate with each other. So yeah, But Simon, great. Thanks a lot speaking to you again. And the next time we speak, you will be in Russia.
Yes, I'll be in Russia. I might do an interview between now and when we next hold one of these interviews, as we do on Thursday nights to discuss the events of the week. So I'll see you on Thursday afternoon, evening, and that will be immediately after I've observed the Victory Day parade that Volodymyr Zelensky has said they are going to attack. They are going to, I don't know, he didn't say it explicitly, but the speculation all across the internet, and I'm talking about among the best observers, not fools with an opinion. There is a very great suspicion that there has been, with the assistance of MI6, some sort of a thing laid in advance, that perhaps a year or two or whenever ago, something was set up, I don't know, in the foundations of a building, a nuclear bomb. I could not tell you, Marius, and it may be absolute. It may be a case of making a mountain out of a molehill, a storm in a teacup. It may go off just fine, but everybody is approaching this 9th of May Victory Day parade with some, let's say, trepidation, some sort of caution mixed with anxiety. In any case, for those people who don't know, the Russians celebrate the Soviet success, so communist Soviet success, but they don't celebrate it in the spirit of communism. This is something that was celebrated in Soviet times, with its success in World War II, what they call the Great Patriotic War. And then when Russia denounced communism or abandoned communism, or rather, let me begin at the beginning and finish at the end. When the Soviet Union fell apart, Russia, by the way, was not the last country in the Soviet Union. It left the Soviet Union before some of the other 14 republics that made up the Soviet Union. After Russia left the Soviet Union and communism became a thing of the past, the Russians, given their own feelings about what happened in that war, decided to continue with the May 9th Victory Day parade. So it has become a Russian event. The Russians have sort of taken it over and made it theirs. We're not participating in any communist thing. It was once upon a time 100% Soviet, but it has since been morphed into something else. So I'll speak to you after I've been watching that for 7, 8, 9, or 10 hours, Marius, and I'm very excited.
Yeah,
by the prospect of Thursday night.
Take a lot of pictures, Simon, please, man.
I will do. See you on Thursday night after the Victory Day parade, Marius.
Great stuff. Thanks, Simon. Cheers, man.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Hey, that was another interesting chat with Simon Roche, and he's off to Russian, like he said. We're all quite excited for that. I haven't been to Russia. Don't know how it is there. So hoping to live a bit through him. That's going there, and yeah, we wish him well, obviously. So like, share, follow the channel if you want to know what's happening in Russia with Simon. Obviously, I've still got a couple of things up my sleeve, videos that I'm going to make, especially about the Afrikaner Boerenhelde. So yeah, working on that, and a couple of nice things coming up. Hopefully a prepping program soon about doing some Zoom calls with people that's going to give us some info on what do they prep and how do they prep. So that's also ahead, still to come in the next couple of months. But from my side, I hope you have a great day or a great evening, depends on the time of day that you're watching this, and God bless, obviously.